Hey guys, welcome to today's video on the energy hacks that you need to increase your productivity. So if you have found that you are having these energy crashes throughout the day and it is affecting your ability to go out there and do the things that you are here today to do, you're going to want to watch this video. So this is a video that's going to break down all the little things that you can start tweaking in your lifestyle to help you improve. And if you're new to my channel, hello, where have you been? Hi, my name is Elika. I developed this channel to really start sharing the lifestyle habits and hacks that I use to coach the top 10% to have optimal energy so that they can go out and do the impact that they're here to make in this world. So if you like the sound of that, subscribe to this video so that you can be on top of those lifestyle habits. So the first thing I want to say is that having these consistent crashes in our energy is a real sign from our body that something needs to tweak. And I think that the challenge that most people have until they start really seeing that energy is one of the most valuable things that they can prioritize is that they think it's normal to have these energy crashes. And they think it's normal to live that way without optimal energy. And unlike children, when you look at children, they can't imagine having this abundance of energy. And when they don't, they just generally are eating or sleeping. Whereas for us, we just think that we have to just push through it. And therefore, I think that we're just living a suboptimal life. So as you start to make your way and get used to my sharing, you'll realize that one of the main things that I do is I use energy as my most valuable currency. And when I'm working with my clients, I'm looking at all of the different areas that are taking energy away from them. And when you make tweaks in that, you change your life. So I want to go into today's video and look at the typical things that I see happen to me, even in a typical day, and then what I do when I notice that is happening. So let's start with one of the first things I know is that when I feel like my energy is dipping, I feel like I need to get energy back through my body. And the thing you have to know here is that you create your own energy. Energy is something that you create within yourself. And others obviously give off energy, other things, other people, other places, but you are literally generating your own energy. So it makes sense to think of energy as a moving thing. And therefore, if you feel a slight dip in energy, one thing that you want to do is the first habit, which is to move. So if you just notice then, did you see me just do that? I adjusted myself on the seat. Why did I do that? Because I felt stagnant energy in my hips. I felt like this uncomfortableness, this feeling, this sensation, and therefore I wanted to shift that. And so we have all been put into environments where our natural environment has now decided to make us comfortable. You know, in Singapore, we have aircon designed to make us comfortable, but for most people, that moves them away from the natural feeling of heat and sun. You know, we have sofas that are ergonomically designed to make you just want to sleep in them. But that means that when you sit for hours watching TV and you're so comfortable that you don't move, that your body doesn't adjust. You know, we have office chairs that are ergonomically designed to keep us in a position that straightens our back and all of that, but also can keep you not moving. Now, of course, we have standing desks and all of these things, but the key thing here is you need energy to move through the body. And that circulation that happens as energy is flowing through the body is what's going to help you to keep energized. So sometimes you can go for a walk, and sometimes you might just need to adjust a movement part in your body, whether it's stretching, adjusting. Like I love when I'm sat, just to do this, just to twist, because if you notice when you're sitting down, from your neck to the bottom of your torso, it gets squashed into this position. So especially around your abdominal area, you're compressing all that energy into that area. So just twisting like this, I love when I'm sitting down to do that. If I feel like I've been sat down for a bit, I don't tend to sit down for more than an hour without moving anyway, but you know that. I also, my chair, you won't be able to see it, but it's actually it's got a rocking chair to it. It's actually, again, one of those ergonomically designed chairs that I'm not going to adjust my camera because I'll screw myself over trying to put it back, but my feet slip underneath it and are held into this kind of almost suspended position. And, you know, just stretching, twisting, and just getting the limbs, especially when we're sitting, the hips, the back, you know, circling your ankles. These are all things you can do. You know, one of the ways that you want to move when you're like sitting down and eating is not necessarily to get up and move and walk and all of that. Of course, that's great if you can. But let's say if you're out for dinner, you might just want to twist your ankles, like just rotate your foot around one direction and another. That's something you can do under the table. Another one is like, if you imagine that's your feet on the floor, just like calf raises. These are things that you can do. And because if you think about it, your legs and your glutes carry the majority of the muscle. The big muscle components are components of the body. When you do like things like calf raises, you really are getting a lot of energy moving through larger parts of the body, muscle mass. So this is going to be a really great way for you to re-energize and shift energy in the body, and therefore feel that movement of energy. I can already feel that actually just by sharing that with you and those little moves that I did. So movement. Now, of course, I was talking about a lot of little moves, but there are the obvious big moves, like making sure that, for example, I teach my clients primal moves. So those big compound movements, like a squat, like a lunge, like a push-up, like a pull-up, that really move those bigger muscles. But walking, maybe you just need to get up, go for a little walk and come back. And that walk can be small. That walk could just be the circumference of your room. But just really making that a habit for you that's normal, to not try and sit and push through stagnant energy, especially when you feel those dips of energy, but to notice that, okay, thank you, that's a sign that I need to get moving. Okay, so the second I'm going to talk about is having mindful breaks. So mindful breaks is obviously, a part of this movement to be more mindful, which, to say that another way, is to be more present. Now, you'll also notice that the first thing that I talked about in movement is that you actually realize that you feel that the stagnant energy in your body, like you can feel like your legs maybe getting numb, or your hips a bit achy, or your back, a bit restricted, and therefore you move. But all of that is about the mindfulness that you have about your own body. So many of us are so used to pushing our body to do more than it needs to be done, suppressing a lot of the feelings that we have in ourselves. And so we create this disconnection to how our body is feeling. And mindfulness is a way of doing that. Now, when you find that your energy is crashing, then one of the things that you want to do is to firstly notice that my energy is different. My energy is maybe lowering. Notice where the energy is in your body. So maybe you can feel, I've got tightness in my chest, or I've got tightness in my hips, or this is my common one, I've got achiness in my shoulders because I have a habit of holding my shoulders up. Or another one that I have is my neck, because I have a tendency, if you watch my videos, I like do that. Many reasons for that, but like I tend to be like viewing, I've got this this part of me that wants to see the bigger picture. So I literally do this, I overextend my neck. And so these are all ways that I'm present when I notice myself doing that, and then I can adjust. But mindful habits are things like, maybe because I notice first, then the second stage for me is to then notice that I need to do something different. So for me, I love to just go to the toilet and just sit for a minute with my eyes closed in my body. So it could just be like this. And that practice, you can do many things. You can just sit and notice where the energy is in your body. You can just sit and notice your breath. Maybe you've been working on the computer for long hours, so a mindful habit could be just to close your eyes for a minute. Don't think about necessarily meditating, but just close your eyes. And if you notice, when you close your eyes, you shift the energy from being outside of you to being inside of you. So that's one way that is. So another is thinking about other ways that you could just be more present. So obviously you've identified by being present that something doesn't feel right in the body. So as well as just like closing your eyes or going for maybe you can do a timed meditation. Maybe another thing could be to just notice that you're not feeling good about something. So you could just write out what you feel. And, I know that sometimes it's not convenient to do that as a habit because of where you are. You might not have your journal nearby, you may not be in your office or with a piece of paper and a pen. But one of the things that I've started to do to really cultivate that practice that I've got through journaling is to leave voicemails for myself. So sometimes I'll just go, oh my God, that thought just came into my head and it's making me feel depressed or making me feel sad. And I'll just leave a voice note about it. And the voice note will be something like, when da 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 happened, it made me feel da 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 da, and then I wanted to da 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 da. But actually, the truth is, and it's just taking myself through. I mean, I'm giving you some very vague prompts there because, you know, I could do a whole video around how to rewire your brain and to get yourself thinking newer, more upgraded beliefs. But the key thing here is that what I'm trying to do is be present with what that shift of energy was about. And I'm trying to almost label it. And if there's something that comes through from doing that or something that I identify, I'm sharing that. But I'm just taking myself through a small little process of being present to that thing. Because it's so easy for us to just continue whatever we're doing, even though we notice that there's a shift in our energy that needs to be addressed. So for mindful habits, I love just like journaling that thing that just came up into my mind that shifted my energy internally, shifted the way that I felt. Or if I'm on the go, leaving voice notes for myself. Okay, so generally just taking a break away from the thing that you're doing, you know, going away, doing something else and coming back to it. The obvious one is, for me, was to go and get food, right? To just find myself wandering into the fridge and eating. And that was just a distraction. Now, I will still go and get a drink, but the truth is, for me, because I know that the drink is near where the food is, I don't try to cultivate that as a habit, and I always try to make sure that I've got plenty of water near me. But I would rather stand up, go for a walk, move around, and then come back, or change the thing that I'm doing and come back to it. But I think just being mindful that you might need to shift that thing that you're doing, or that thing that you're doing isn't the thing that is making you feel good. And so you might need to therefore check in and go, is this something that I should be doing? Okay, let's talk about fuel, right? So when we have these energy dips, just like, you know, if the car was to run out of petrol, we need to think about our fuel, okay? Sometimes we need to eat and sometimes we don't, because sometimes the energy dips are a repercussion of the fuel that we had, right? Of the food that we were eating. So, you know, without going too much into nutrition here, because, you know, I am an expert in nutrition and all the things that I have shared previously about my beliefs around nutrition, the way of eating and all of that, you'll find in most of my videos. But I think the key thing here is about understanding that we need to eat the food that we're designed to eat. The food that is designed for every cell in our body. Every cell in our body is made from proteins, fats, and liquids that we consume. So when they say you are what you eat, you literally are. And so if you're eating food that wasn't even designed for humans, or if you're eating food that was designed for humans but that you're intolerant to, right? Like dairy, like maybe gluten, or just some general allergies that you haven't picked up, then of course your body is going to have a hard time digesting that. And when it struggles to digest, it's going to consume a lot more energy, and that's where you might notice energy dips. So they say that 70% of your body's energy is used to digest food. And with most people eating 3 meals a day, that's a whole lot of energy that's used to digest food. So there's a big thing here around the type of food that you're eating, but there's also a thing around the time of the day that you're eating the food. So I tend to focus more on breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, dinner like a pauper. So what that would look like is, if you imagine a triangle that's upside down, the biggest portion of my meal is at the start of the day. Now, just being 100% honest with you, I don't care if my breakfast or my lunch is the biggest meal, but I definitely want those first 2 meals to be the main meal. The second thing is, I don't need to eat 3 meals a day. So sometimes that breakfast, I'm having at what people would call lunchtime, since I don't allocate certain times to when I eat. I just eat intuitively when I feel my body's ready for fuel. Then, because that might be much later, it might be like today, my first meal was at 1 o'clock. Typically my first meal is at 10. So if that meal at 1 o'clock is adequately enough and so sufficient enough, and it's a big meal. So today I had quinoa and I did like a stir fry with onion, garlic, and fresh coriander mixed through it. So I had all those greens through it. And then I had it with some turmeric air fried chicken, and then some sambal. And then after that, I had a chocolate almond cake homemade that I made, and that's just full of coconut oil. So I had that afterwards. And honestly, you know, on a day like today, when I had that probably just after 1 o'clock, and I haven't really got much to do today, I might not need to eat another meal. I might. And I will probably check in at some point before the sun sets, because after the sun sets, that's when I really don't want to be eating unless I really need that fuel, because I know, again, that my body's ability to utilize that energy, my metabolism to work efficiently to burn that off before I sleep, is minimized. So again, if you're not following like the sunrise, sunset, the circadian rhythm, the 24-hour biological clock, and you're consuming foods at the wrong times of day, or big meals, heavy meals at the wrong times of day, you're going to feel those energy crashes. So the type of food, the time that you eat is really important. So fueling up before you expend most of your energy, which for most of us, we have all day, we have 24 hours. So the majority of the energy that we're going to expend is going to be in the first 1 to 2/3 of the day, right? Then that means that that's when you're going to have the best chance to use the energy that you naturally have to use to digest that food. But if you're having a lot of those main meals and those bigger parts of the day where you eat in the evening, now, unless you're a shift worker working at night on your feet, a lot at night, a lot of self-activity at night, maybe that's you, then it's going to be difficult for you, right? So we just got to work with the natural cycles that the planet gives us, that we as humans are designed to be in accordance with within nature. And that will naturally help us to keep our energy way more optimal without those big dips. And so you can see when people, skip breakfast, end up having a carbohydrate focused lunch instead of like veggies and protein, because they're just hungry now, so now they just need sugar, and then they have that big meal in the evening. You can see that those people are the ones that typically then need to have an afternoon fix as well, and it's all because the type of fuel and the time of fuel is not really the most optimal. So just that in itself, you can imagine, is huge, and is going to really help you to think about how could you make some small tweaks there to just create more of a balance between your energy, which is essentially controlling your blood sugar, typically when it comes to food, so that you're not having these crashes from the food that you eat that gives you the surge of energy and then crashes you afterwards. I think I could do a whole other video on just how I kind of use fats, as a way to balance whenever I eat sugar, and just all of that. But I think that's really in, the videos that we talk about around what does, healthy eating really look like. So then I want to talk about sleep. Now, sleep is your most optimal time to prevent these energy crashes, because obviously sleep is when you literally recharge this battery of your body. So if you imagine your phone or your laptop goes into red, you immediately have that feeling, oh my God, I need to charge. So many of us go into red in our physical body, and we extend that red longer than we need to, or we don't fully charge to 100%. And I'm guilty of that sometimes. Like last night, I actually went to bed late, but I was actually waiting for someone to message me. And so it was on the back of my mind, and I was checking my phone late at night. Now, I knew this was really bad, because I knew that I was in that, when you're like literally dozing because your body is literally now exhausted, and then I'm still like wanting to check. And what happened was, because when I got that message through, I was like, I was very sleepy, and I was like, it surged me up. And then I got up, went to the toilet, came back in, and obviously I slept. But there was something about the way that I'd prepared myself to sleep that meant that I know that I disturbed my deep quality sleep. And I felt it this morning. So the first thing that I did is I went into nature, and I walked in nature for the first 1.5 hours. And I really immersed myself in nature to just really give my body that natural sunlight and just restorative properties that nature just gives us. But then when I came back, I felt like I could tell that my energy was better, but it wasn't optimal. So I took a 1 hour break, now, a 1 hour sleep. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm a massive fan of power napping, but I don't normally take an hour, because the sleep cycle, with it being 90 minutes, I want to make sure that I get one little bit of that deep sleep, but not like get into it and then have to come out of it. So usually I find with the hour, not optimal, and I set an alarm for 20 minutes. But with this, what I realized was that I just wanted to sleep and let my body just tell me when it wanted to wake up. And because time was on my side, I wasn't like clock watching this morning, it ended up being an hour. And I did feel that I was a little bit groggy coming out of it. So I definitely know I did have that where I was going back into another cycle and I was waking up before it, but I got up after the hour. So power naps are really great, especially if they work for you. When you have small children, you sleep when they sleep, all of those things. But just making sure that you know that if you're eating well, you're exercising well, you're doing mindfulness practices, but you're not getting 7 to 9 hours of good quality sleep most nights, then everything is against you anyway before you even start. So let sleep be the most important pillar of preventing energy crashes anyway. Okay, lastly, I want to talk about our environment. Now, our environment can help us restore energy. Recently, I just did this post actually on LinkedIn about this beautiful new resident hotel that won Property Awards 2003, 2004 and London Property Awards that's been built in Dubai. And I just frigging love this building. And it's just been designed with nature in mind. In fact, the banyan tree was part of its inspiration. It's been built with this crystal inside, structured water. I mean, it's just my dream environment. Why? Because it's taken a lot of principles, ancient principles that a lot of our ancestors used for thousands of years, that now we're just waiting for the science to catch up, that it's really important to what creates a healthy environment for us. And our environment isn't our houses, it isn't our offices, it isn't these concrete buildings, these shopping malls. We have to remember that our natural environment is what we have labeled nature. So when we are outside, even though we don't inhabit it and work with it in the way that we did for thousands of years, we have to know that that is what our natural state was designed for. And so when we think of our living environments, we have to think about principles that come from nature that allow that. So good natural sunlight, fresh air. So like in my office now, like it's actually about 3 o'clock, so the light is dimming, but I have a window there and a window there. And so I like that natural passageway of air passing through. I also, when I look to the right, have this huge field behind me, so I can see green all the time, right? But it could be that I have plants all around. Plants don't grow, fortunately, that well in my office, but plants are fantastic, especially if you find those plants that are really good for filtering the air. So this is really, again, in nature, we would have had access to good quality air. Hydration. So, I always, no matter how long I'm filming for, I'll always have a drink nearby in case I need to be hydrated. So now, this is kombucha. So good, this one. This is my homemade kombucha. So again, having access to clean water, or a good quality drink that can help you stay hydrated. I also love coconut water because I live in the tropics. So water is something from nature. Being able to move, right? Think about our natural environment in nature. We wouldn't have had comfy sofas, right? So when our joints were a little bit uncomfortable, a bit stiff, we would have just moved, right? So think about that. Think about, the shelter. Does the shelter come with natural materials? Or is the shelter quite toxic? Again, we go back to fresh air. A lot of the things that are in our inside environments are creating toxic air. Like sofas leak sometimes a lot of chemicals. Your bed, your mattresses, your linen, your sofas, your carpets, the rugs. If you are someone that wears shoes in your house, then all of that excretion from outside and the dirt and everything is being dragged through your house, and you're breathing all that in, or you're creating all those dirt. Yeah, we get it. In nature, there was dirt. We're not scared of dirt. But again, what are the chemicals and the toxins and the things that we walk out on in the street outside that we are bringing into our homes? Because, for example, maybe you just don't take your shoes off. So then there's the feng shui principles in nature. Nature has a certain way of, like, the trees growing to a certain way so they can get access to the sun. And the colours, the green of nature does something to our eyes that calms our nervous system. The sounds of nature, like I have it now because I didn't close this window. I have leaves literally rustling in the wind to the side of me, and it's so beautiful to hear that in the background. I don't think you'll pick it up because I've got my mic on, but that natural sound of the wind, listening, I can feel that it's calming my nervous system. So just really thinking about the feng shui principles of things being aligned in a certain way. Like, do you want to see clutter when you look around? Is that going to create peace in your body? All of these things are things that you can think about in your environment, so you can set up an environment that gives you energy rather than takes energy away from you. And actually, just one thing on that I want to say when I was thinking about the leaves is the music. Like, I love when I work in the office having background music that just lifts up my spirit. Like, isn't music one of the most amazing ways to shift our internal feelings, right? So shift the energy that flows through our body, which we could call emotions, right? Energy in motion. Isn't music a fantastic way to just shift energy immediately? So think about all these things when you think about how can your environment sustain you to give you energy, and how can all of these little small tweaks then allow your energy to be more stabilized and therefore impact your productivity. And if you like this video, please share with me what you liked. If you didn't like it, it's also okay to share. What would you want to know more of? What could you explore? What is working? You know, share with me anything that's been particularly working for you. I know some of you might want your crystals in place. Some of you are just okay with ergonomically designed furniture. Some of you are particular about your lighting. Some of you are particular about your air filter. You do you, right? But just think about when I went through all these, what was the thing that reached out to you as something that resonated with what you might need to shift so that you can stabilize your energy? So was it the things that we talked about around movement and like just making sure that you do adjust yourself and having that movement? Was it for you the mindfulness around your breaks and mindful habits that we talked about? My big one is like the audio messages that I leave myself and I notice I'm feeling a certain way. Was it for you how you fuel yourself to stabilize your energy through eating the right foods and at the right time? Was it for you the sleep, that you know that you're still not on top of your sleep hygiene? Or was it for you, lastly, the environment and thinking about how you set up your environment for success, more harmony in your body, and therefore to be in your overflow of energy? Whatever it is for you, you know, let me know what you think about the video and what's coming up for you. And if you do like the video, please give it a like so that more people can follow it, because my intentions this year is to continue to put my energy into expanding my impact on how people look at their energy as their most important currency and the thing that they can get into overflow so that they can go out and do the impact that they're here to do. And if you want to learn more about all the different ways that I look at life through the lens of managing our personal energy more efficiently, then subscribe to the channel so that you get notified of all the new videos. So it's been lovely sharing. I will make sure that if you're already on my newsletter list, then I will be sharing my day-to-day lifestyle habits there as well, like, you know, how I audit my life through energy and what I do with my clients and just general experiences of living life through managing energy. So you'll find the link to my newsletter in the description box below if you haven't subscribed. And if not, I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care.